Folks, we're going to talk a little bit about Korea today, a little bit about climate change, a little bit about eminent domain, a little bit more about the president's budget proposal, and of course, Dan Kelly is going to join us with an update on the Iowa State House, and Nikisha Phillips will be joining us as well.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Ed Fallon here, folks. Gateway Market and Cafe is your locally owned source for specialty groceries. Enjoy chef-crafted, prepared foods, artisan baked goods, organic produce, specialty cheeses, and hand-selected wines and craft beer. Visit the lively cafe for breakfast, lunch, or dinner 7 days a week. Gateway Market is centrally located on the corner of Martin Luther King Jr. Parkway and Woodland Ave. Stop by or visit www.gatewaymarket.com for more details. That's Gateway Market, folks. Good food, great community.
This moment of silence brought to you by Tally's Restaurant Bar and Catering, home of Des Moines' premier rooftop dining experience. Located in the heart of Beaverdale, Tally's offers speedy and affordable rooftop lunch, catering for events both large and small, innovative cuisine, as well as vegetarian and gluten-free menus. Come to Tally's for live music, dry-aged steaks, Sunday brunch, and all-you-can-eat ribs every Monday night. Tally's Restaurant Bar and Catering at 2712 Beaver Avenue. Call 279-2067. That's 279-2067.
Times are tough, and most people are just trying to make their cars last a little bit longer. That's why you should know about Sargent's Garage in Des Moines. You can trust Sargent's to make the right diagnosis and give you a fair price. Whether it's a routine oil change or a major repair, Sargent's always does outstanding work. So don't give up on that old car just yet. Call Sargent's Garage at 246-8149. That's 246-8149 for Sargent's Garage.
Nestled in the heart of downtown, Ritual Cafe is one of Des Moines' most unique places, offering a wide variety of coffee and tea. Ritual Cafe also serves the only all-vegetarian menu in town. And Ritual Cafe is a cultural hub for artists and musicians, with a performance stage hosting local, national, and international talent. Make Ritual Cafe a part of your daily ritual. On 13th Street between Locust and Grand in downtown Des Moines. And check out ritualcafe.com.
Ludwig van Beethoven here. I used to be so tired all the time, not from composing and playing, but from moving my piano. But now I feel so much better. I call S&P Piano, and they will bring my piano anywhere. They also sell and rent pianos, used ones, new ones. You get the idea.
Call S&P Piano right away at 208-6453. That's 208-6453.
S&P Piano.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Greetings from the cultural and culinary crossroads of America, folks. Welcome to the Fallon Forum, broadcasting from downtown Des Moines, Iowa. And thank you to Brother Trucker and Andy Fleming for a great tune to kick off our show, as we've used that show since day one back in September 21st of 2009. That's Andy Fleming's Downtown, appropriately named. And we used to use that tune when we weren't downtown, when we were way the heck out in the burbs. But feels good to be here in the Skywalk. I want to thank Webcast One Live for providing the studio for this program. We're going to talk about the president's budget proposal, but first, a couple kudos to letter writers. Bill Basinger, nice letter to the paper this morning, kind of a wake-up call. You know, we're used to seeing our country go to war in Mideast. Maybe it has something to do with oil. But, you know, between the first Gulf War and Iraq again and Afghanistan, and before that Iran, you know, and maybe again Iran. It just seems like that's the focal point of our recent military exploits. But, you know, we've been banging the drums for quite a while here with North Korea. And again, yeah, no doubt, this guy's a bit crazy. And maybe the words a bit are a bit out of place. The guy seems to be whacked. But as Bill points out, you know, again, escalating the conflict by labeling North Korea the axis of evil, by deploying new weapons in that area, war games close to North Korea, excessive sanctions. Those things aren't inclined to help discourage dictators from retaining power and from expanding their rhetoric and expanding their capacity to engage in war. So it's a good idea to remember that this approach is not helpful. It's not inclined to lead us in the right direction. Again, not saying this guy is anybody's friend, but there are things we can do that are probably more diplomatic than a lot of what we've done over the years. And Bill reminds us that in his letter to the editor today, which I think is a good reminder, because we do not want to see still yet another U.S. war in a place where we can ill afford it financially and in terms of the global political environment. Okay, so the other letter I particularly found helpful today was the one by Steve Goodner regarding the Keystone Pipeline. Again, a lot of people are still scratching their heads about the Des Moines Register's endorsement of the Keystone Pipeline. Canadian environmentalists and native Indian nations are mounting stiff opposition to the pipeline, as Steve points out, because of the severe damage to their lands and the inevitable spill of these tar sand oils. And again, yeah, a spill is inevitable. Actually, multiple spills are inevitable, as we are seeing in this country. You just can't transport that stuff without expecting major leaks and huge problems. So, the Register, as again Steve points out, they're touting the jobs that this pipeline is going to create, and also touting the energy independence to our country. And again, it's remarkable that the Register is talking about that, because these things just aren't true. Again, 3,900 jobs would be created during the building of the pipeline. I mean, that's a pittance when you think about all the jobs, how many more jobs you could create with a comparable emphasis and approach that invests in renewable fuels, wind energy. I mean, we have 7,000 wind energy jobs just here in Iowa. Okay, so again, it's a good letter. I'm glad it's in there. And trying to sort out what the president is going to do on Keystone. It's a tough question, and a lot of people are feeling right now that the president is going to approve it. I'm not so sure. I'm going to weigh in among the few folks who are saying that he's going to do the right thing. He's going to ixnay this thing in the end. And, interesting. The rally at the State House here in Iowa, the rally at the Iowa State Capitol building recently, just a couple weeks ago, a week and a half ago, to support the Keystone Pipeline. That was a labor union rally. Again, of course, you got the oil lobbyists and whatnot who want this as well. But it was, the laborers union specifically wants that pipeline because, again, they look at almost 4,000 jobs, and that's all they're focused on is the jobs. I wish more, and there are plenty of good labor leaders who get the big picture, but I wish that everyone would be as far thinking. So yeah, they look at the jobs and they think, okay, we got to support this. And the labor's union is very close to the Obama administration. And the folks are saying that it was interesting. The key leadership of the labor's union, the key leadership you would expect to see at an event like that, at a big rally like that, they weren't there. And there was almost a sense of, we've got to do this to show that we're on board. But, we don't have a lot of confidence that Obama is going to authorize this thing. It was an interesting, again, from folks who were there who shared with me what was going on. The sense was that, we're going through the motions here, but we really know from our connections to the Obama administration that this thing is not going to happen. I hope that's true. And if you were at that rally as well, and I had mixed feelings about going, opted not to, almost wish I had, but again, some of my sources are pretty reliable. And I think that the feedback I'm hearing from them, based on their sense of how the labor movement is responding to this, is that, again, going through the motions but not confident, or fairly confident, in fact, that the president is going to ixnay the pipeline. That would be a wonderful step forward in the right direction as we battle the climate change issue. And yeah, battling the climate change issue is such a challenge, folks. I mean, gosh, this is an interesting. I exerted this from a Huffington Post article last week, and I thought this was an interesting take on the issue. Again, it's the Hollywood phenomenon. And if you look at what happens, the films coming out of Hollywood over the past several decades, lots of films, big budget disaster films. You've seen them. You've heard about them. Most of us have probably seen at least one. They're very popular, of course. Now, they did a little analysis. In descending order of frequency, those films depicted alien invasions. That's the most frequent disaster film. About 100 of those, about 100 alien invasion disaster films. The second was way down, 37, depicting epidemic and pandemic outbreaks. So we fear aliens more than disease, but we're pretty scared of disease as well. Third on the list, not too far behind, 20 films depicting tsunamis and destructive waves. 16 depicting earthquakes, 14 depicting volcanoes, and meteor, asteroid, and comet strikes, 14. All right, so there's interesting ways to lump these together. If you put alien invasions with meteors and comet strikes, that's, again, by far the biggest block of films that cause us to flock to the theater in fear and admiration, too. I mean, we love these things, and we're scared out of our minds of them as well. So, interestingly, absent from the list is any kind of, scintillating, as they call it, scintillating portrayal of global warming. Of course, there was The Day After Tomorrow and Lost City Raiders, which describe global warming as the catalyst for floods, tornadoes, hurricanes, and ice age. And, of course, there was Al Gore's An Inconvenient Truth. But again, in terms of Hollywood trying to tap into human fears of things that might kill us, the one that is actually happening right now, and again, the question is, how bad is it going to be? How bad is climate change going to be? And how quickly can we respond? How dramatically can we respond to reduce its impact? I mean, that again hardly even makes the list. We're much more concerned about aliens, tsunamis, media attacks. Oh, I mean, zombies isn't even on this list. I wonder where. I'm surprised zombie isn't even on this list. I mean, I guess zombies has got to be getting up there as well. We're really terrified of zombies. So, interestingly too, when a poll conducted by Jane Rison and Clayton Critcher, they approached people and asked whether they believed in global warming. And if they asked the question on a cold day, far fewer people were inclined to fear global warming than if they asked the question on a hot day, which again makes no sense because we all know, again, according to the science, there will be temperature variations from one day to the next, from 1 month to the next, that won't be consistent with the overall warming trend. But the overall warming trend is about as clearly documented as the nose on my face. So again, it's just a funny element of human psychology. We don't fear that which is right upon us, and maybe partly because global warming, actually, it's moving really, really fast in the big scheme of things. In terms of the human experience, a tsunami hits, Superstorm Sandy hits, boom, and it's right there in your face, and you can grab onto it. Global warming, year after year, little changes. Yeah, we don't tend to. We're the frog in the pan of water. Throw the frog in a hot pot of water, and he'll jump right out. That's us. Tsunami, alien invasion, comet strike. We'll just jump right. We'll take that battle right on. But warm us up gradually. Good metaphor too, of course, with climate change, and we tend not to even notice or pay attention. So again, that's part of what we're battling here, and so those who get the problem really need to be much more proactive about about getting the message out about why we need to be concerned. And so, again, I'm hearing from people that President Obama understands that climate change is a problem. And we had a conversation about this on my show earlier this week. He gets it. He knows it's a problem. And their argument was he knows it's a problem, but he's going to approve the pipeline because of political concerns. And I don't get that. I don't get that at all, because what does he have to fear politically? He can do this. He can ixnay the pipeline, and there's nothing that can harm him politically. I mean, it doesn't matter if he loses. I mean, he's not gonna run again. There's nowhere to go from here politically. He's not. He had his last campaign event ever here in Des Moines on the day before the election. So he's not gonna. He's not. He may burn some political capital. Maybe he'll have a harder time addressing other issues. Who knows? But the bottom line is he can stop this thing, and nobody can get in his way of doing that. So I think that fact, coupled with the fact that I do think he gets it, coupled with the fact that the messages we were getting from the pro Keystone labor rally, I think I would not give up hope that he may ixnay this pipeline. That said, it makes all sorts of sense to turn out to the April 18th public hearing in Grand Island. Again, Grand Island is only 275 miles from Des Moines, folks, and anywhere in Iowa at all, it's very accessible. So if you are concerned about this, as you should be, and want to make sure that the president gets the strongest possible message and sees as powerful a movement of public opposition as we can possibly muster, do go to that public hearing. Again, that's going to be on the 18th, next Thursday, in Grand Island, Nebraska, from noon till 3:30, I believe, and then from 4 to 8. Two public hearings. I don't quite know whether there's a difference between the two, but at either rate, they're both worth attending. Okay, so a local issue with nothing to do with climate change, but everything to do with the environment and farmland protection. I've been working for years with farmers down in Clark County to try to stop a lake that would condemn a bunch of really great farm ground and a beautiful natural area along Coyote Canyon. It really is pretty. If you haven't been out that way, it's just gorgeous. It's between Osceola and Murray. And we have so far successfully stopped that from happening largely because there's a great citizens group there, people who, again, like with climate change, if it's affecting you directly, you get involved. And so and I don't blame these people at all. Their homes, their lives, their community is at stake, and they've effectively stopped this thing. But the mayor of Osceola, Fred Deal, and a bunch of development interests are still grim and determined to see this thing through. And there is legislation. And interestingly, in the Iowa House, which is again controlled by Republicans, there was extensive bipartisan support for this bill. It passed, in fact, it passed 93-6 out of the Iowa House. Only a handful of people voting no. And yet we can't get it through the Iowa Senate, which is disappointing and wrong. It really should have consideration in the Iowa Senate. And so, Craig Paulson, the Republican Speaker of the House, who is absolutely right on this issue, points out that, he says, quote, "It just doesn't make sense to me that we would condemn someone's land so that someone could ride a jet ski through their backyard." Well said. And again, the argument is made that people need this as a water supply for drinking water and to, quote, spur economic development. And those are really tired arguments that have been disproven. I mean, you don't need this additional source of drinking water. I mean, think about it. Osceola has declined in population. The population of Clark County is fairly stagnant. Or, again, and it may actually be declining. I've got to go back and check. But there's no way you need a whole new water source. You've got Westlake. I think it's called Westlake. You've got, I forget which river runs through there now, maybe the Sheridan. And overall, we've got more rainfall happening here in Iowa. I know right now, we've had, up till now, we've had a fairly dry period. Looks like that might be changing. 5 inches of rain in some parts of Iowa. So, the argument that we need this for drinking water is really, really weak. It's a plan to develop a lake that could be used for big homes, for recreation. And again, it is just remarkable to me that some political leaders are so callous to other people's life, property, livelihood, that they feel it's okay to come in and condemn folks and then take their land. I mean, you're going to condemn a whole bunch of great businesses. Most of these businesses are called farms in this area, and that just ain't right. So I'm glad to know that my Republican friends in the Iowa House are moving this thing forward. They've resurrected the bill. It has been attached to another bill, and we shall now see what happens with it in the Senate. Again, I hope folks will challenge Senate Democrats to get on board this simple legislation that would provide some protection to people. Again, the issue is about farmland protection. We've got great farmland in this state, and we can't continue to squander it on projects that are short-sighted and that benefit certain people at the expense of the greater community. And more importantly, again, it's just not right for government to come in with a heavy hand and take someone's property. So, again, I commend House Republicans and House Democrats for bipartisanly supporting a bill that would help, limit that problem. And I hope the Senate does the right thing on this. Okay, folks, plenty more to talk about today. I do want to thank the Iowa chapter of the Sierra Club and Iowa Physicians for Social Responsibility. I also want to thank Gateway Marketing Cafe. Gateway, I've been dining there more and more, folks. I just can't get enough of the good grub at Gateway. It's hard to make oatmeal like a wonderful breakfast delight. Usually it's something I eat because I feel like, it's time to do the healthy thing and get a bowl of oatmeal. Gosh, their oatmeal is darn good. Comes with walnuts and cranberries and maple syrup. It's darn good, I tell you. So they've also got, again, a fantastic Eggs Benedict and incredible French toast. And they've got lunch and supper as well. So, folks, check them out. The grocery store as well, and the cafe, and the catering service. That's Gateway Marketing Cafe at 20th in Woodland. I'll be back in a couple minutes.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Drug and alcohol addiction slowly steals a person's identity, tearing away pieces of their life little by little until one day it seems like the hope of a happy future is gone and there's no chance of getting it back. Here at St. Gregory Retreat Centers, we can assure you that there is hope. Our unique approach to recovery begins with the understanding that the dysfunction and damage caused by addiction can be overcome, not just dealt with. Don't let another day go by. Call St. Gregory today.
The dawn of a new era begins.
Well, good morning. This is the 7th of June in the Lord's year 2010, and this is day 101 of WebcastOneLive.com. We will begin with Max World Live with my special guest, Tom Coates. In just a minute, there's Tom. Wait, howdy. And we will be live for the very first time on Webcast One Live. Someday we're going to look back on this and say, gosh, remember that old day in history? Wonder where Walter Cronkite was. He must have been around hanging there too. But actually, it's the beginning of Webcast One Live. And thank you for listening. Thanks, Rob Spearman, and everybody who's put together this project together. And we're ready to go live now. So thanks for listening to MaxWorldLive.com. I
can't tell you that it's going real well from time to time, but it is going.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Welcome back, folks. Thanks for being with us today on the Fallon Forum. That's Mr. Baber's Neighbors. I want to thank Tinker Heating and Cooling for sponsoring this segment of our program. And I want to remind you, folks, that you can call in any time and join the conversation at 244-0077, 244-0077, or toll-free 855-244-0077. Dan Kelly's in the studio. Dan, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ed.
They let you out of the house.
Thank you, Ed. They did. They let me out of the house. Did anybody see me do the duck walk under the camera just about 10 seconds
No,
ago?
but we can reenact.
No.
We can
okay.
Whenever you're ready.
I'm glad nobody saw that. All right.
All right.
Just got into the studio.
Yeah.
And excited to be here.
Yeah, and are our cameras okay, Maddie? Nope. Well, we're working on it. Dan, you don't have to look real sharp yet because the camera's not even on
okay.
you. So,
all right, great.
But you're in disembodied voice right now. Hey, you probably have some things you want to talk about.
Yes. Yes.
But I do want to ask you about the eminent domain bill as well. We can come back to that though if you want to kick it off with your opening conversation or.
Well, I'll tell you, Ed. We should be entering the end of the session here. We've scheduled for 110 days, and that would end, I believe, May 2nd, so that's about 3 weeks out. Will we end on time or will we won't end on time? That annual discussion is starting to happen at the Capitol, and there's lots of decisions to be made on budget bills, of course, but the education reform package is still hanging out there, and it's in conference committee, lots of interesting stuff going on with that. So I think education reform is going to take the forefront again maybe next week here.
All right.
So.
Now it's possible that session would end early. That's been the trend in most recent years is people are, getting done early.
Well, however, I've never participated in a session that ended on time.
Okay, well,
so that would be a brand new experience.
I guess
me.
that was before your time. But I remember for several years that people were getting out of there a week, 2 weeks early.
Sure. Well, I don't believe I'm responsible for it, but the two sessions that I've participated in, the first one went right up until right about July 4th weekend, and then last year I believe we were about a month over time, but a lot of the decisions on budget bills hold things up, and I understand that, and so that just gives you extra time to sit at the desk and do constituent contact work, which is really the root of our job.
Well, it was the part of my job that I enjoyed the most because there were folks who, for them, it was they would have a problem with the DHS or the DOT or you name it, whatever agency, they just couldn't seem to cut through the bureaucracy.
Right.
And that's where legislators can be really helpful.
Yes.
If they are willing to take the time and effort to advocate for that citizen, because the citizen just can't, and it shouldn't be this way, but that citizen often can't get through to the people they need to talk with.
Well, there are no small problems. And when constituents call and they have a particular issue that they'd like to discuss, or maybe an interaction with a government agency that they need assistance with, those items, I think, need to be elevated on the daily agenda of the legislator. Those are the things that we are there to take care of. Yeah, they're not the topics that are on the front page of the Register or the Gazette or any of the major papers in Iowa. The Newton Daily News, of course, being one of those.
Yeah, but it is a daily paper
right.
after all.
Yes, we have.
It's going to be the smallest town in Iowa with a daily paper.
Yeah, we have a daily paper. Yeah. I actually have. I don't want to get too far off track, but I have about 5 newspapers I communicate with just in Jasper County.
Really? All owned by Gannett?
No, none of them actually.
Oh, good.
No,
all right, good.
No, some of them are independently owned.
Good.
So, but rural newspapers are alive. But anyway, that's what we're elected to do, to take care of constituent issues. And I spend a lot of my time working with folks back home on particular issues they're concerned with or help that they might need in dealing with, say, DHS or...
Well, that's good. It's important.
Make sure that they get their medication on time and so forth.
And I'm glad you have more time for that because things are kind of slowing down. But
you got to make it a priority regardless of what's going on.
Very true.
You do.
But it seems to be a real roadblock right now. I mean, education in particular, but Medicaid,
yes,
and some of the tax issues. There seems to be. I mean, Governor Branstad in particular seems to have dug his heels in so deep, particularly on Medicaid, that there's no indication he's interested in compromising at all.
Right.
I mean, I don't know how you get beyond that, except if Republicans are willing to help pass something with Democrats and then override his veto. I mean, I've seen that my last session at the legislature, Democrats and Republicans united to override Governor Vilsack's veto on an eminent domain bill. And that's something I want to talk with you about as well.
Sure.
But the big issues, the big ticket items don't seem to be moving real fast, or am I missing something?
No, I don't think you're missing anything. And particularly on the Medicare, the Medicaid concerns. When it comes down to it, the alternate plan that the governor has presented would cost more and it'd cover fewer islands. Yeah. I think the debate ends right there.
Yeah, that seems like a no-brainer, but he's still got most, I think maybe, was it most or every Senate Republican backing him up on that, which it seems like a horrible position to be in politically. Yep. Besides the fact that it's really bad policy.
Yeah. Well, the presidential election is over. Obamacare is the law of the land, and I think it's time that everyone accept it.
I thought the presidential election was an ongoing thing.
Well,
day one of the next one starts after the election.
I think President Obama won. I'm happy that he did, and he's made great strides in healthcare, and some just simply have not accepted that yet. And this whole discussion is a remnant of that debate.
Yeah. Well, and again, a lot of Republican governors are on board on that. So again, that might be the biggest sticking point between now and the date of adjournment, May 2nd. But education, does it seem to be maybe a little bit more hope that there will be some bipartisan, compromise on that?
The education reform package is in a conference committee, and after over a year delay, the Republicans and the governor have finally agreed to a 4% increase in school funding for the next 2 years. But right now, the schools are preparing their budgets, and many of them are sending out layoff notices to educators because there's been uncertainty for so long. It's important that we set 4% allowable growth. We should have set the budget for the school year starting in August last year, according to law, but for some reason the governor didn't want to do that, and for some reason the House majority didn't want to do that. So, who suffers for that? Ultimately, our kids do.
Yeah, and the local school districts.
Local school districts, yep.
School boards they have a hard time making a budget when they don't know the target.
And those local school districts are there to serve our kids. Yeah. And so ultimately, we've got to make them for our first priority in this discussion.
One more question before we go to a phone call. There was a bill that passed the Iowa House 93-6.
Okay.
Again, solid bipartisan support. It is relevant to eminent domain, and there is a feature in that bill that would help folks in Clark County who have been trying for years to stop a lake from being built on their land. It passed overwhelmingly in the Iowa House. The Senate has kind of said no to it, but the House now has reattached it as an amendment to another bill, trying to move it forward. What's your take on that bill?
Well, I'm pretty sure I was one that voted in favor of the bill. People, I'm a realtor, Ed, and I believe in individual property rights. Somebody purchases a home, that should be their home, and they should be able to do with it what they choose. Somebody purchases land, I feel the same way, and that was that's part of my philosophy, and that was relevant in how I voted on this bill.
Yeah. Good. Well, again, it has been bipartisan in the House, and it's just remarkable to me that it can't get the same kind of traction in the Senate. In this case, I'm more aligned with the Republicans, I guess.
Well, you're also in line with the Democrats who
in
voted in
the
favor
House.
of it.
I'll just say I'm more aligned with the House.
Yeah.
All right. All right, folks. 244-0077. Let's go to Leonard. Welcome to the show.
Hi. I think as far as Branstad, or if you prefer Brain Dead goes, the only real thing the Democrats can do is nominate somebody brighter than Culver, which, in fairness, should not be all that hard to do.
Okay.
And I think, Branstad can be beaten if he runs again, and I think if Reynolds runs or whoever, I think right now, given the brand value of Republican in this country, he or she shouldn't be all that hard to beat.
But Branstad has a track record of beating everybody. I mean, his closest competitor was a primary challenge from Fred Grandy back in 1990.
Yeah, interestingly enough, that's when I registered Republican to vote for Fred Grandy.
Right, to vote against Branstad, essentially. But yeah.
Exactly. Well, what I'm getting at is right now, given the National Party and given the brand, the Republican brand right now is tarnished beyond belief.
Mm-hmm.
I called Latham's office and suggested that if I didn't see something in the way of gun control, when he ran for re-election, he was going to have 26 little ghosts hung around his neck. Grassley looks to be a lot more in love with the Tea Party than I think would be healthy if he planned on getting re-elected in Iowa.
Mm.
Now, it may be that Grassley isn't going to run again.
I think that's a very real possibility myself.
10 years ago, Grassley was a moderate, more or less intelligent Republican, assuming that's not oxymoronic. Today, Grassley looks like he's afraid of a primary challenge from the radical right.
Well, a lot of Republicans are. Even though you have a strong element within the Republican Party going the other direction, extending a welcome to the gay and lesbian community, extending an olive branch to the immigrant community by trying to be more moderate and willing to compromise on immigration and GLBT issues. So
I don't think anybody told Mitch McConnell that.
No, but that it's happening, and so I
look at this thing nationally, and I see, for instance, what's her face in Maine decides not to run for re-election.
Olivia Snow.
Yeah, and my guess
Olympia
is Susan
Snow.
Collins is good. Olympia Snow.
Yeah.
My guess is Susan Collins feels somewhat endangered. My guess would be if Robert Ray was around as a politician today, he would be feeling somewhat vulnerable.
Dan, again, you're a Democrat, but
Yes.
you see plenty of Republicans every day.
Right.
You work with them. Sometimes you probably get along with them.
I get along with more than I think many do.
So what?
I just can't go along with the Tea Party.
Yeah, but I just wondered, Dan, do you sense that there is that tension between the Tea Party types and the more moderate, traditional Republican types? Do you sense that in the Iowa House?
Every now and again, I feel very sensitive to Doug Gross.
Let me give Dan a chance to weigh in on that, Leonard.
Yes. However, I do feel it was a bit more contentious during the previous two sessions. Overall, I believe that this current session that we're in has been far less contentious than previous.
So, and that would
not just between the parties, but with the Tea Party and the traditional.
So that would imply to me
Republicans.
That would imply to me that the Tea Party is maybe losing influence at the Iowa House.
I think they're still relevant, but it seems to me that they have taken a step back and perhaps are regrouping in some way. But certainly there are many aspects of the Tea Party that have still moved forward. Like take, for instance, the anti-cyberbullying bill that did not go forward because 16 socially conservative Republicans had come out against it. Well, that means that it's going to require some Democratic votes to get that passed, and we didn't see that bill get through the funnel week. So certainly the Tea Party is very powerful in the Iowa House, and I do think that there are some disagreements within that caucus. But that's not my focus. My focus is on contributing to the House in general and providing leadership on issues that I'm concerned with, and just being a good member, not only of my caucus, but of the House in general.
But understanding,
I know that's probably not the answer that that incites the most energy or vigor, but that is legitimately what I want to be about.
It's good to have people doing that, but it's also I think the analysis that Leonard is providing too is good, because we've got to have a sense of where folks are coming from to understand what kind of policies we can effectively try to engage. I mean, Leonard, one question I have, we have seen again a big showing of Republican moderates moving forward toward GLBT, accepting gay marriage, toward immigration.
As to say a big showing.
No, well, it's significant compared to what we've seen in the past 30 years, and
If it was one, it would be more than in the last 30 years.
And it's a lot more than one. I think 70 or 80 came out in support of gay marriage nationally. I mean, that's huge. You got 2 Republican senators now in the U.S. Senate who are on board. So I mean, I'm waiting to see whether we'll see the same kind of movement on climate change.
48.
Excuse me. I'm wondering if we'll see the same kind of movement on climate change, where you begin to see Republicans who understand that this is an issue that requires bipartisan attention. Dan, any sense of that?
Sooner or later, everybody's going to be on board because the changes are happening. They are noticeable, and we see more extreme weather conditions that can be attributed to changes in the climate. Sooner or later, everybody's going to have to catch up with the science, understand it, and we need to start taking stronger action. I do my best to promote.
In St. Louis today.
What's that?
I say it might be believable in St. Louis today.
Why? What's going on in St. Louis?
Oh, they got hammered big time yesterday.
Rain?
Last night. Huh?
Rain? Or did the St. Louis Blues get beat by the Bruins?
Trees down all over St. Louis County.
Had not heard that.
Big bad wind. Hurricanes are up, everything else. On the other hand, you talk to the radical right, and they still deny the theory of evolution.
Yeah, I mean that's the problem. But again, it does seem to be some momentum in the right direction. So
okay. Good luck,
Leonard. Thank you. All right, thank you.
Ed, Leonard early in his call there mentioned the governor's race, and I think once the session ends, we'll start to see some names officially come forward. And I'll tell you, the names that have been mentioned, I'm going to have a very difficult decision to make, and I think all Democrats are. So as we look towards following the session, I think that's something we got to focus on.
Yeah,
picking the right person to go forward. Not just let's focus on the person that can win, but let's also focus on the person that can provide the leadership this state needs.
So maybe candidate Kelly for governor?
No. Let's not start that.
So who do you think some of the right people might be?
Well, I'm just going to wait and see what names actually come forward. But the rumor mills run, and
Jack Hatch
I've not yet
mentioned.
heard one that I didn't have a tremendous amount of respect for.
Now, Jack Hatch is being mentioned. I don't know who else is being mentioned on the Democratic side.
Yep.
But there's got. I mean, again, it'll make a difference if Branstad runs again. Again, I think no matter how bad the Republican brand name gets, Branstad will be hard to beat. I think he's almost a shoo-in. In fact, I hate to say that, but I think, and even though he's made so many mistakes this time, and his stand on Medicaid is ridiculous. His promises on open government are just a bunch of lies. I think it's going to be hard to beat the guy. It just doesn't seem to happen here in Iowa in modern times where we unseat incumbents.
No, it doesn't happen.
I mean, Jim Leach was an exception when Dave Lopes beat him.
In fact, I just the other day there's a display in the rotunda that there's a headshot photo of each of the Iowa governors all the way back. And I counted up the number of Democrats. There's only been 9 Democratic governors in the state, in the history of the state of Iowa.
2 in our lifetime.
Only 9. That means the next one will be the 10th in our history.
That's what, about 30 Republican governors? 20 something.
Oh, I counted them, but I don't recall them. It was I believe it was in the 40s.
40s.
And there were 3 from a party that doesn't even exist now.
Whigs.
Yeah. I don't think it was Whigs. I'd have to look at it again.
Yeah.
But I wasn't really studying it. I just counted up the Democrats. I was amazed by that.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
Dan, thanks so much for joining us.
Well, thank you, Ed.
All right. Good luck with the final few weeks of the Iowa legislature.
Yes.
And, keep fighting the good fight.
Well, I'm doing my best I can, and thank you for having me on every week.
And ask those senators to support that eminent domain bill. Good.
All right.
All right. Folks, I want to thank Leonard Tinker Heating and Cooling for sponsoring this segment of our show. It's that time of the year where you're probably switching from thinking about your furnace to your air conditioning unit. Of course, we still seem to have plenty of cold weather with us, and so if you need any adjustments to your furnace, give him a shout at 371-2114, 371-2114. And again, not too early to be thinking about what happens when the weather gets hot and balmy and you want to stay cool. So give Tinker a shout on either of those counts, your heater, your furnace, your air conditioning unit, 371-2114. 30-plus years of experience, and the guy knows what he's doing. I'll be back in a few minutes. Nakisha Phillips is going to join us. We'll talk a little bit about her world, and you're welcome to join that conversation as well, 244-0077.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Community CPA is the 15th largest CPA firm in Iowa, providing audit, tax, and accounting services. Community CPA specializes in international tax treaty and double taxation avoidance among countries and states. 9 dedicated, experienced, hardworking staff are the company's foundation, and their compassion towards every client is the secret behind Community CPA's success. At Community CPA, you can expect quality service year-round. Call 288-3188. Community CPA, 3816 Ingersoll. Experience the difference.
I'm a burrito.
I'm a fighting burrito, full of fresh ingredients prepared before your very eyes.
I don't have eyes.
I have over 28 options and 268 million combinations, including Rizo for vegetarians.
I can take my meat off and call myself vegetarian.
Put that back on. The Fighting Burrito is locally owned.
I'm owned by some big corporation somewhere. Say, you want to go on a date?
No thanks. I'm seeing a quesadilla.
The Fighting Burrito online, fightingburrito.com. Join the fight.
This is Dr. Holding at the Story County Veterinary Clinic. For 15 years, we have been spaying and neutering feral cat groups at affordable prices. Wild cats destroy game birds and songbirds. A single female cat can produce over 4,000 kittens in 7 years. The shelters are full, so unwanted kittens will be put to sleep. Your cats will stay home and stay healthy. Call us for all your dog and cat needs at the Story County Veterinary Clinic between Ames and Nevada on Highway 30, 1 mile east of Interstate 35, 515-232-8766.
Local farms, global flavor. That's the secret to Hawk's growing popularity. The best meals begin with the best ingredients, and 90% of Hawk's ingredients come from local farms. In addition to seasonal fruits and vegetables, Hawk features grass-fed beef and lamb, and pasture-raised chicken and duck, all raised without hormones, steroids, or cages. The coffee is fair trade, locally roasted, and Hawk's House liquors come from right here in Iowa. Hawk's owners go the extra mile, composting organic waste and recycling. For more information or to make reservations, visit hawktable.com. That's HOQ table.com.
It's time to think about upgrading the efficiency of your furnace and air conditioner. Leonard Tinker Heating and Cooling has provided honest, competent service for over 20 years. Whether it's your home or business, for repair work or to install a more energy-efficient furnace or air conditioner, call Leonard Tinker at 263-0422. That's 263-0422. For honest, competent heating and cooling service, call Leonard Tinker at 263-0422.
I love driving to Newton to see the races.
Me too, but I only have to drive across town.
You live in Newton?
Yep, Newton's got small town charm and it's close to Des Moines. I love the safe, friendly neighborhoods and family-owned businesses. And Newton's wind energy industry is really taking off.
How'd you find your home?
Dan Kelly with First Choice Realty. And Dan helped me find my office too.
Next time, instead of just speeding by, I'll stop in and check out Newton.
Why don't you check out Newton? Call Dan Kelly at 641-521-9260 or Dan Kelly at mchsi.com.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
That's Max Wellman, folks, and the Max Wellman Trio. And you should get it. Max has a great project going, the Songbook Project, and you can learn more about that at maxwellmanmusic.com. Worth doing. I'm a subscriber as well. I want to thank Community CPA and Associates for sponsoring this segment of our show, and I want to welcome Nakisha Phillips to the studio. Nakisha has been a frequent visitor to this program for the last couple months, coming in to talk about her journey through pregnancy. She's working with a doula. She's working with a midwife. She's working with an alien life form living inside of her.
It's very true.
Those aren't my words. Those are yours.
No, it's still true.
Yeah.
It's strange even now because you can feel the baby kick more, and so it just feels even more surreal.
June 10th is 2 months away.
Yes.
Excited?
Fearful? Yeah. Oh, everything, all of the above. A lot of different things going on in my head, and but I mean, just I think ready, basically, not to be pregnant anymore.
Yeah. You had a big event this past weekend.
Yes, and you were in attendance.
I was there. Yeah, it was,
yes.
Only the second baby shower I've ever been to in my life, and the first was when I was 11.
Well, it wasn't a typical baby shower. Usually, I think they have baby showers for the women, and it's kind of like they get dressed up, and it's kind of they play baby games and stuff. But
we didn't play any baby games. I was actually a little bit disappointed.
Oh, sorry. But Jess and I, that's just not who we are as a couple. And for my bridal shower, we had a co-ed shower as well. So
did Jess have a co-ed stag party?
No, he actually didn't have a bachelor party. I didn't have a bachelorette party. It was it was just kind of a nice little get together with friends, and we had it at Ritual Cafe where we both work, and it was nice, and everybody had good vibes, and that's kind of what we wanted. We just wanted a fun environment.
Yeah, and you announced the gender of the baby, the long-awaited decision on
we did
on whether we have a boy or a girl here.
It's a boy.
So we have the screaming girl behind you. Maybe we have to change that.
Change it to the boy.
To a screaming boy.
It's okay.
It's okay.
It's a boy. So at least that's what the ultrasound said.
Now, something I was not aware of, and maybe I knew this at one time, but I forgot, is that you say a lot of the same problems you experienced early in your pregnancy, illness, nausea. I mean, those were kind of gone, and now they're back again.
Yeah.
That can't be any fun.
Well, yeah, I've been having kind of like morning sickness again, or all-day sickness is what I experienced in my first trimester. And I've been having that kind of coming back. It could be, I've read online and some other reading material that it's not uncommon in the third trimester for women to kind of get those symptoms back sometimes. So I'm just kind of dealing with it, just trying to eat small meals like every hour to 2 hours to try to keep my blood sugar and everything.
Yeah. Well, and I treated you to lunch after the show last week.
Yes.
And
Which was very nice.
And all you wanted was potato salad, which you then ate very little of.
And
then I ran into you at Ritual Cafe. It was a coincidence, but I guess not surprising we were both there. And you had a massive piece of cheesecake, which you then ate very little of, which I benefited from.
You did.
Because I got to scarf this incredible piece of cheesecake.
You did.
So I just need to hang out with you more often. And expect that you're going to get food that will end up in my plate in the long run.
I mean, Jess loves it too. You know, he like eats my scraps. And part of it is everything is pushing up, on your rib cage, and so acid reflux is a common symptom and problem that pregnant women have, and so oftentimes just eating many small meals during the day is better than having a full-on meal. So, and a lot of times you feel fuller, even though you didn't seem like you ate a lot. I mean, I ate a lot of that potato salad later. It went in my fridge for not very long. And so
well, of the two, I'm glad I scored the cheesecake and not the potato salad.
Yeah. But yeah, it was, I mean, so these are just everyday things. I mean, like today I was talking to a woman that I meet with bi-weekly now, and once the baby's born, I'll meet with her weekly.
Is that your doula?
No, she's actually a nurse.
Oh, okay.
It's
yes,
through Visiting Nurses Services, which is beneficial. It's a nonprofit organization, and it's for women, first-time parents, first-time women, mothers who may not have the support system, like family-wise, that most other women do, which I don't. So she'll be meeting with me every week after the baby's born until the baby is 2, until the boy is 2. So I met with her today and talked about breastfeeding, which was
okay. You can talk about that on our show if you want to.
No, I'm just saying these are like things that you don't think about, and you're like, oh,
right. Okay, you just hadn't thought of it. Yeah. Now that's there's an element of controversy surrounding breastfeeding in public, and I was admiring a young mother. It was early.
Were you creeping?
What?
Were you being a creeper?
No, admiring. No. Smarty.
Sorry.
No, I was admiring the story in the paper I read about a young woman who defied, I can't remember which restaurant at a Jordan Creek Mall had thrown out a mother who'd been breastfeeding or something like that. It wasn't that, it was a different restaurant somewhere else in the country. But she went there and intentionally said, okay, I'm just going to sit here and breastfeed my baby.
and it was a clothing store.
Was it a clothing store?
It was a clothing store.
Why do I think restaurant?
Wait, a clothing store in West Des Moines?
Yeah, Jordan Creek Mall.
It was like an Aeropostale or Hollister, one of those pretentious ones.
Well, I think I want to say something. I'm not as controversial as you, Ed, but I want to say something really like smart ass, but I'm not going to.
Oh, well,
about West Des Moines. Just that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. Well, no, but this has happened elsewhere in the country where women have been. I don't know if anybody's been arrested. Maybe you know, Maddie, but they have been chastised, removed, scorned for breastfeeding in public. And I would hope we'd be beyond that. It wasn't that long ago that in our society, breastfeeding was discouraged. It was described as less desirable, less healthy, less ideal than formula, than bottle feeding, which is remarkable that you could think anybody would be that clueless, that they would think that something that you could generate in a laboratory would be an improvement over what Mother Nature generates.
Well, the formula companies are probably losing money, and so they're like, hey, it's better to formula feed. You don't. I mean, I have a little experience with it. I have knowledge about it because when I was at Tulane, I volunteered for an organization called Tuxco when I was in school, and it was a nonprofit organization, and we worked on community outreach programs with young women who were in the projects. We would go out and have community outreach and encourage those women that were pregnant or had young children to breastfeed, and the benefits of breastfeeding. And I mean, the stereotypes of like women that breastfeed, it was just crazy. I mean, it's,
well, we've come a long ways on it, at least.
We have
a ways to go.
We do.
Yeah.
But the benefits are amazing if you can. I mean, I know that some women have problems with breastfeeding, but just to educate yourself and to seek the help and be patient. I think it takes about a month to get used to that stuff. So
well, another chapter to think about, and it's apparently we
move from circumcision to breasts.
Speaking of circumcision, I was given a CD to give to you as a gift. So,
oh no, does this have?
I don't know. I haven't seen it. I have not seen it. It's something you'll have to check it out.
Makes me nervous, Ed.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Nikisha Phillips, folks, thanks again for joining us. I think we'll probably see you for a few more weeks, maybe right up till June 10th. I don't know.
I hope so.
You still riding your bike?
Yes, I didn't ride it today.
Now, today was a horrible day to ride a bike. I speak from experience. I came down here on mine.
Oh, yeah. But still riding it.
Well, folks, again, thanks to Kisha for joining us. And thank you, folks, for being a part of the Fallon Forum today. I do want to call attention to a Repertory Theater of Iowa production coming up that championship season. This is happening April 19th through May 5th at the Des Moines Social Club's Kirkwood Theater. More about that on my website, but also on the Repertory Theater of Iowa's website as well. I also want to thank the folks at the Natural Living Expo. It's going to be a month later than usual this year. It's going to be May 18th and 19th. This is an annual event that offers classes and You have vendors where you can learn about green building design, sustainable agriculture, urban farming, non-toxic cleaning products, massage, so much more. This year they're expecting about 150 exhibitors. Again, great event. It's going to be at the Polk County Convention Complex, I believe. I'll double check that. But again, Natural Living Expo, you can find more information online at www.naturallivingexpo.org. I also, again, want to thank Community CPA and Associates for sponsoring this segment of our show. It's tax time. Again, you don't got much time left, and if you haven't found somebody yet, give Ying Sa with Community CPA a shout at 288-3188. That's 288-3188. Also, folks, I got to remind you about the Great March for Climate Action. This is a big event happening next year. It's going to totally change the tenor of this program. Go to my website, or our website. It's it's climatemarch.org, www.climatemarch.org. Learn more about this event. It's going to be an historic experience, and hopefully will have a big effect on climate change. Hopefully by that point, and I do think, hopefully we're going to cross Nebraska next year in this march, and we'll find that the Keystone Pipeline never got built, and my prediction is that it won't get built. We'll find out. Anyway, hopefully Obama is going to do the right thing on this one. All right, again, I want to thank Webcast One Live for providing the studio for the show, and I want to thank Maddie Arrington, my producer. I'll be back tomorrow. Thanks.
I'm Brian Leach, owner and general manager of Service Legends. I brought along a couple of the home comfort heroes.
Hi, I'm Tammy Wells.
I am Nick Wondershot.
I'm administrative manager.
I'm the senior technician.